Evening everyone, just going to start giving this video. We've got a list of questions here which I've gathered over the course of the last month speaking to people, so probably best thing is just to take off with these and start addressing people's questions. So there was a few came up already today. The partnership with mortgage providers is the first one to address. No, we haven't made any partnership with mortgage providers as yet. The houses are all built the same way as all the other houses. We have built. Hi Steve, good to have you here. Just addressing that first point about mortgage providers, actually, no, we haven't teamed up with any mortgage providers, but the houses are built the same way we've been building houses for the last 20 years, so there isn't really any issue with that in terms of getting lending. We have in the past, clients have come at us and asked for insurance warranties on buildings and for architect certificates, and really that's all for the mortgage lenders, so that can be done and can be done for any project. We haven't actually teamed up with anyone per se, but there should be no other issues with that than there is on any other project that we deal with. On to your second point about extras and solar panels and the like, we have looked at solar panels, we have looked at a lot of different options, and what we've shown in our price model is the heat pumps, underfloor heating, mechanical air heat recovery, and that all allows us to pass a SAP calculation, which allows the building to go through building control as a dwelling. So we can add solar panels on, but certainly the way the standard is at the moment, it's so strict in terms of environmental standards that it would just be an additional cost. We looked at the solar panel electric heating option originally, and that was just, it worked out too expensive actually. So that drove us back to heat pumps and underfloor heating. It's certainly, we can look at different options though. So that's your first 2 points. So I think next to come on to Kim's point, which was the biggie about planning and how we deal with planning, on the microhome sites. So it's the big hurdle in the whole process, the planning. So to try and offset that for customers, what we're offering is a free feasibility study, which really is our goal in that is to try and assess whether you will get planning permission on your site. At that point, we'll either tell you whether you can or you can't, and a lot of that comes from years of experience of getting difficult projects through difficult planning sites. So that's a free service we're offering to everybody, and providing you pass that, then moving forward, you'll be moving into the microhome process. We'll actually start then taking payments and moving you through to a planning application and then through to the building warrant. So that's how we help you manage it if you have a site. Coming at it from the other point of view of if you're looking at land and if there's land that you're thinking of purchasing for a microhome, what we would say to you is just send the brochure through to us, and we're happy to speak to anyone on the phone for half an hour about a site to stop you making a bad decision. There's no charge to that. That said, there are some basics that you can all follow, which is try and find a site which has outline planning permission for what you want on it, or try and find a site with a derelict building on it, so there's a precedent of building there, or a building that is earmarked in the local plan as part of that area for development in that area. So that's three major ways. The issue we have is that you're really not allowed to just build in a field in the countryside because of the planning regulations. So we have to try and manage that. So I think the best advice on the planning issue is come to us first, speak to us about it. There is no charge for that. You know, we do that for loads of people. So I'd hate to see you make a bad decision. To follow on from that point, there is finding the land, actually, which is the secondary point to that. So something, again, we have a lot of experience in seeing people making good and bad decisions in. So the first sort of thing I would say, which is most important, is try and stay away from the auction sites. They're really a terrible place to find good plots of land. Often we work on auction sites which have been through auctions 3 or 4 times, We work on the same sites sometimes, which have been through auctions 3 or 4 times for different people. And often these sites have fundamental issues. The other side of that is the people we know and we have seen who've had the best deals and found the best pieces of land have actually done that privately. They've approached the farmer who had a piece of land that was unused, an old barn, or they approached a neighbour, or they approached an elderly person in a village, and that is how the best pieces of land are found, the ones that aren't advertised and the ones that aren't public knowledge yet as such. So best advice is go out, walk your dog, look for bits of land, you know, go for drives, visit places and be inquisitive about bits of land. That is absolutely the best way to find the best bit of land. The personable approach is always best. And certainly please stay away from the auction sites. They're really the worst place to find good plots. So I've got a few other points here I just wanted to address, questions that have come up over the last couple of weeks. The practicalities of small home living was one of the other points that came up today. I think that really cuts to the nub of the issue that we're trying to address here, which is big houses don't make you happy. You know, it's about time with family, time with friends, and spaces and places which allow you to live a happier life. That's what's brought us to microhomes, actually, and creating buildings which are smaller to heat, smaller to clean, just smaller to fill with rubbish that we don't need in our modern lives. It's not what's making us happy. So I think the practicalities of small living are something that I think we all need to adapt to, rather than think of it as being practical. I think it is a new way of living that we all have to start embracing a little bit more. I think there's no doubt in the modern world dissatisfaction's never been higher the more material things we have. So our feeling is that small homes are the way forward for that. So just to come on to some of the other issues, a few comments that have come up over the last few weeks are, can I customise my microhome? You can absolutely customise your microhome. We're architects, we can design you anything you like. The only thing I would say is the ones we have designed already are fully drawn and fully designed up to a construction stage. So there's a lot of work that's already gone into these in terms of engineering input. All manner of systems have already been designed into it. So to customise your design would slow it down in the process. That's the only thing it would need to go back through engineering. It would need to go back through thermal calculation and things like that. So it would definitely slow the process down quite a bit, but it's not a problem. I guess the only sort of exception to that would be, for example, if you wanted to mirror or hand a microhome, there would be no issue there because all the engineering and all the thermal calculations would remain valid. So we've gone through those items. The other things to bring up then are, I've had quite a few comments about, are these buildings suitable in the west, particularly on the islands where the weather's a bit more exposed. We are a practice based in the west of Scotland. We've worked in the west of Scotland, so a lot of our designs have been born in that kind of environment. So I wouldn't have any concerns about the buildings being, robust enough for that kind of environment at all. In fact, we've quite a lot of experience in paint coatings and materials that work and don't work in these kind of areas. Other items that have came up are, are there any exclusions to the costs? And yes, there are exclusions to the costs. So really everything that's contained within the footprint of the building is provided by us, including foundations. So everything out with that is provided by you. So that includes things like driveways, service connections to the actual building itself. The reason these things are excluded is because they can vary massively site to site. The other thing that's excluded is the white goods in the kitchen, really because most people have them themselves or like to provide them. So it's more for ease than anything else. We're architects, we don't really want to get into discussion which washing machine you want. So it's often easier just to let you supply that yourself. So they're the only exclusions. To follow on the cost items, one thing that is important to note is that because these are new build dwellings, they fall under the zero VAT scheme. Now, to qualify for that, a building must be a new dwelling that is capable of being sold on its own. So it must have its own deed plan, its own independent drainage system, and all these sort of things that make it an independent building. So if you are looking at building a microhome in your back garden as a guest accommodation, or to put up family members to have them live closer to home, then the whole package is subject to VAT. So that's a critical item, because the VAT on these numbers can be quite large. So it's definitely something to be aware of and to think about how you're going to procure your VAT, because we can only zero VAT rate the house and the services if it is going to be a new build house that can be sold on its own plot in the future. So going through those few items, just to come back to site issues again, the drainage is often an issue which comes up for a lot of people. Often we're looking at new sites that maybe don't have drainage. Now, our engineers can design you a full drainage system for your site. That's not a problem. It is something that's chargeable on a site-by-site basis. Again, because it varies so much, some sites just require connection to the mains, some sites require sewage treatment systems and all sorts of extended procedures to get drainage. So that's something we can deal with on a site-by-site basis with you. There's not excessive cost to that, but there is time involved in it. And we have to dig pits in the ground, test the porosity of the soil and things like that to allow these drainage systems to be designed. So there's a little bit of work in that. It does need to be resolved for planning permission stage though. So it's something we're going to have to address with everybody from early stages actually. So again, if you're looking for a site with drainage on ground is a big win as well in terms of getting you through the planning process itself. Sustainability is another issue that's came up in a few questions over the last month or so. Just to let everybody know, I mean, the buildings are fully produced in Scotland. It's all Scottish timber. It's all Scottish suppliers and manufacturers that are involved throughout the whole process. It's all Scottish builders as well that are involved in actually building the buildings. So in terms of sustainability, we're trying to do our best. I think for us, the big sustainability win is actually having people moving to living in smaller buildings and taking up less resource in the world actually. They are small, compact buildings, and I think that is the big move in sustainability. So, excuse me, going through most of those things. Yeah, location is another item that's came up. A few people have asked how far away we can work and where we can provide the buildings. We can provide the buildings anywhere in the UK. We're onboarding different building contractors from more remote locations, but certainly anywhere in Scotland we can resource right now. And we have a few other inquiries from further afield which we've already looked at resourcing, and that's not a problem. We are getting quite a few inquiries from down in Cornwall and places like that, so that is something we're looking at the moment, and I think by the end of the week should be in a position to resolve all that. One or two other specific queries that have came up. Can we supply the kit only for the buildings is one query that's came up a few times actually. So yes, technically we can. What I would ask people to understand is though that the price we're offering is a package price for a whole suite of professional services and a building kit and the assembly of a building. So without any of those three components, it can't be signed off as a house. So a big part of that is the professional component actually, in getting you all the approvals before you build and then getting all those approvals signed off after you build. So for those people who are looking for a kit only delivery system, we can do that, and we can have a kit and all the parts delivered to wherever you want. That's not a problem. It takes about a week to produce the building, so that's fine. I think we would need to have a discussion about how we resolve the sign off at the end and things like that. It might be more practical that, for example, we get you all your pre-build approvals, you take delivery of the kit, and then you have somebody local to you who's able to help you through the sign-off process. So that's something happy to discuss with people on a case-by-case basis based on your expertise. Obviously, if you're a building firm, for example, you don't need us to help sign off a building with building control at the end of a project. However, if you've never done something like this before, then you may want us there in the background to help at that stage of the process. So yeah, sorry, just to carry on from that point, so that would be for self-builder, or if you had a builder locally that you wanted to use as well, we could facilitate that. Again, I think the bigger issue there in all these is getting the sign-off at the end for you and making sure that all that procedure is tied up. So yeah, speak to us about that. Few other points in terms of detailed drawings. Can you have detailed drawings? We have all detailed drawings ready for issue here in the office, so if you want further drawings and drawings you can zoom in on and PDFs and things like that with elevations and to show a bit more detail, just drop us an email and we can get that sent back to you. That's no problem. Timescales is the other one that keeps coming up. So timescales are an issue. Typically from initial contact, we have a couple of weeks to get your site plans ready, book in topographic surveys and all the various checks that need to happen. Really within another couple of weeks we can have all the drawings already, so we can have your project lodged for planning. Unfortunately, planning is a process we can't control, so we really have to allow 3 months for that to be approved. Again, the building warrant drawings are all done on all the projects, so we can lodge that as soon as possible. Again, there's potentially another 3 months there. So as a minimum, I would say allow 6.5 months from initial contact to being ready to build. The delivery of the building can happen quite quickly after you're ready to build, though that's really down to us and our project management. So providing the site is ready and prepared for us, we're able to offload the building properly, then we can schedule all that in to happen quite quickly. So sitting here at the moment, it's perfectly feasible that you could be sitting in a house, I guess October, November time if you move ahead with the process. Last thing is, if you want to make an order with us off the back of that, that for people who have sites where there are no sort of contentious planning issues and they feel they'll get planning no problem, you can make your first payment on the website against whatever house type you want, and that'll book you into the system and start moving. For those who are unsure about their planning and the sort of issues around about their site, then you need to go through the feasibility study process so that we can have a discussion with you, understand the issues with your site, give you some advice and figure out what's the best strategy to get you planning on your site. So I think depending on your situation and your site condition, then you really need to decide which route you want to go down through. So we can only produce one building a week at the moment, so that is a limiting factor to us in terms of how many buildings we'll be able to deliver this year. We have got quite a lot of inquiries at the moment, so I guess I would say if you are serious, please get in contact and make yourself known that you are serious and you want at least booked into the queue. We are concerned that we won't, at the moment, we might not be able to resource all the inquiries. So yeah, please make yourself known if you're serious about moving forward this year with something. I think practically we'd like to get people started moving through the system quickly so we can execute with buildings hopefully towards the end of the summer. So the last thing I'd like to touch on just in terms of a Q&A and Q&A items is a general bit about the construction of the buildings themselves, how they're put together and what is in these buildings. So I think probably the most sensible way to go about this is to start from the ground up. So the buildings themselves start on a ground screw metal foundation, which is surveyed based on your site. That then sits on a metal chassis, which is then sits on a SIPS panel construction building. So that's essentially a timber frame type construction with insulation within it. It gives us quite a low U value of 0.11 to those who that means anything to. Within that we have triple glazed timber Nordan windows throughout and a door. Inside the building, kitchens supplied, well, apart from the white goods, worktops supplied, all your taps, bathrooms, sinks, toilets, that's all supplied as well. Floor finishes are included, plasterboards included, electrics are included, drainage, lighting, smoke detectors, really everything that you would expect in a finished internal house. We haven't included for decoration. It's something we find most people want to do themselves, so we can arrange for decoration to be done, that's not a problem. To carry on up the external, we then have Scottish larch on the outside as the main cladding material. PVC deep flow gutters on both sides with 2 downpipes each side, and then a metal sheet roofing on top of that with all the sort of trims, flashings and edge pieces. A couple of the options have a Falco roof light in some areas. And yeah, I don't think there's much more to the buildings. They're quite simple in that respect. There is composite decking allowed for outside to create a small patio on all of the buildings. Really because we need to actually create ramped access to the front door to be compliant with building regulations. Again though, it provides a nice outside space to all of the buildings, especially the number 3 option, which has the overhang. So that's really all the questions that have come up to us over the last month or so. I hope that's answered everybody's queries. This felt like the most effective way to communicate to a lot of people about this. We've had so many similar queries that I thought this would be the way to go. So please, if anyone would like to ask us anything else just now, please type in the message, or I think you can type in the chat here. If not, I mean, we're on email. The email is sales@micro-homes.co.uk. It's on the Microhomes website. You can also contact me at LH Architecture at the office. You'll be able to find that on the Facebook page as well. Phone numbers there, mobile phone numbers there, email address is there. So yeah, it's no problem to answer any questions. I hope everyone sees we are trying to do something different and deliver something different for the market. I think we see how bad the mass house builder market is at the moment, and how many people are having terrible issues with these type of buildings. So we're using a tried and tested system here that we know develops high quality buildings, and we've done buildings like this for years in the past. And I think that combined with the new approach to micro living, actually it really is a new approach. I hope people want to get on board with this with us, and yeah, try and make society a bit better. I think it's time we all moved away from chasing big houses, materialism, and focused in on what is important in life. I think make us all happy again. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this, and yeah, like I said, it's never a problem to chat to anyone in the office or by email or by messenger or however it comes up. But thank you all for joining me. It's been great, and look forward to working with some of you in the past, and in the future. Cheers.